Hello, and welcome to Stand Out or Shine Through. Today, we're going to use the competitive analysis framework to help you clarify the space that only you and your company can fill. What if your dream client landed on your website and couldn't clarify that you were the company that was best for them? Do you ever feel like your company isn't getting the attention it deserves, even when you offer bold, brilliant solutions that are transformational? And are you struggling to clearly articulate what makes your company unmistakably different in the sea of soundalikes? Have you poured your time and energy into growth, but still feel unsure how you stack up to your real competitors? And do you long for the clarity and confidence that comes from truly knowing the space your company can fill? Today, we are focused on helping you resolve those important questions and figure out the space only your company can fill. This isn't about competing harder, it's about standing fully in your distinction. We're going to explore how to discover your true competitors and use this insight to sharpen your strategy, messaging, and growth. This process has always been a little bit of a reluctant process. I like to focus on the purpose of my business, my customer. Focusing on my competitors sometimes feels like I'm focusing on the wrong thing. I invite you to shed that thinking and be open to seeing how your competitors will help you, not just your customers, help you clarify why your company is brilliant and why it is stand out in specific ways. Today, we're going to identify 3 to 5 core competitors. These are businesses whose offerings most closely rival yours in the eyes. Think about who that might be. Start to get in your head around who are my core competitors? Who are the businesses that my customers might consider along with mine? These aren't just companies in your general category. These are the real alternatives. Start to get your ideas going about who are your 3 to 5 core competitors. We're going to use one of our tools today to look at your core competitors, but also we're going to look at competitors in general. And this is going to help you gain clarity and confidence about where you are specifically meant to own the game. So today's focus within the Force for Good system is core competitors. We're going to use the competitive analysis framework, a wisdom tool to map out not just your core competitors, you'll do that. You'll also be able to identify and map out your competitive frameworks, your competitive matrix for your top 3 competitors, and be able to really start to see where you are specifically strong and where you can lean in and are really truly unique. This is part of what I've always learned in doing competitive analysis. It helps me as the founder, you with your team, really say, this is where we can be great. Let's really home in on this market because I can see it's a very special place for us to live. And our DNA as a company is meant to live there. So if you haven't already, go ahead and download the competitive analysis framework. Right now, it is available at forceforgood.biz/weekly-tool. You can also get it when you buy the book, A Force for Good. It is part of the Force for Good toolkit. Humans make sense of things through contrast. One of the reasons why knowing your competitors is helpful is because it helps your customers understand you versus all the others out there, right? So we want to help articulate what makes us unique, be able to use language that specifies what's unique about us. Knowing what your contrasts are to other providers' offerings will help you set your company, your team, your solutions apart. This is also going to help you see where to lean in. It'll help you see what product developments to make, how to shape your marketing messaging. It also will help you decide pricing. It'll help you decide which price to provide, where you want to fit in the matrix of all the competitors out there. So being clear about who you're not is one of the fastest ways to become who you truly are. This is the thought I invite you to bring into this discussion today because you're going to see things through your competitors that are different than you. You can decide this is what I'm not. But instead, this is what I am. So let's use that wisdom to help us dive in and first look at the 4-page growth plan. This is one of the essential tools. This is the tool that you can use every week to help remind yourself as a leader where you're going, how you're getting there, what your purpose is, who you're serving, and what they need. On the 4-page growth plan, you'll find competitors. On the first page, about 3/4 of the way down the page, you'll see core competitors. And at the end of this session today, you're going to write down the core competitors that you discover. And you're also going to use that as a reminder of what your differences are and how you would like to be known and which lane is going to be your company. As we use our wisdom tool, you are going to embark on a competitive analysis. And I'm going to walk you right through it. It's going to be very simple. You'll identify your key competitors, compare their offerings, pricing, positioning, and brand strategies. In the day of AI, this kind of work is actually so simple. You can just ask for it, and your chats or perplexities of the world will help you do this automatically. This is going to help you understand where you fit in your pricing, your positioning, your brand strategies. You're also going to understand your strengths, weaknesses, white space opportunities, along with where your competitors are. And that may drive where you're like, well, they're really good over in this particular area. I don't know that I want to compete there, especially because we're really good over here. And so the goal is to uncover what makes your company distinct, desirable, and defensible. I want to say a little bit more about this idea of looking at competition and the idea of contrast. The brain likes contrast. Our brains are designed to detect differences, not similarities. Yes, this, not this. Yes, this, not this. It's the way your brain works. It filters that way. When you give your market messages of contrast, you are better able to communicate with them. All right. You'll be able to claim the space that only your company can fill. This isn't about competing harder. It's about standing fully in your distinction. Think about how that can make a huge difference for you as you embark on your customer journey. The first area around contrast is contrast sharpens perception. Our visual and cognitive systems evolved to notice change and edges. It's how we survived. The human brain is constantly scanning for differences to prioritize what matters most. The visual system, for example, is more sensitive to changes in contrast than to absolute luminescence. And was part of a study that was done by Herbs in neuroscience in 2001. And so whether it's light and dark, success or failure, risk or safety, these contrasts draw our brain's attention. Without it, everything blurs. With it, meaning becomes visible. Another reason contrast helps the brain is contrast highlights what's important. Our decision making improves when options are clearly differentiated. Behavioral economist Daniel Kahneman, a Nobel Prize winner and author of Thinking Fast and Slow, and he describes in his book how this contrast effect works. Basically, it's a cognitive bias where the brain compares choices in relation to one another. It shapes how we perceive value. He says you evaluate each option by comparing it to another. This relative judgment is why contrast increases clarity when making decisions. This is why marketing offers good, better, and best pricing tiers. It helps our brains make a decision. We can choose between three choices, this one, or this one. And why even ethical decisions become easier when you show different choices of contrast. The contrast helps us see and make choices. So wherever you can use contrast and choice together, it will speed your listeners' ability to make a decision. Another reason why contrast helps the brain is that it clarifies complex concepts. Contrast is how the brain simplifies and categorizes information. Learning improves when people see not just what something is, but what it is not. This is called differential encoding, where contrasting examples are more effectively encoded in memory than similar ones. Isn't that fascinating? Contrasting cases are particularly effective in mastering transferable knowledge. So think of how we teach concepts. We talk about freedom versus chaos. We talk about leadership versus control. We talk about health span versus lifespan. See how you can see the difference between freedom when you compare it to chaos, or leadership versus control? It's the concept that deepens our understanding of an idea and makes abstract concepts more tangible. The fourth reason that contrast helps the brain and why we want to bring contrast to our own brains and to our customers is that contrast increases memory retention and emotional impact. Our brains are wired to respond to novelty. When something breaks a pattern, it triggers a dopamine effect and creates stronger memory encoding. This is well documented in neuroscience. Whitman and his team in the Journal of Neuroscience in 2007 wrote that novel or contrasting stimuli activate brain areas involved in memory and attention, including the hippocampus and the prefrontal cortex. This is a very important skill to use as you're making decisions, as you're helping your team make decisions, as you're helping customers make decisions. And the reason why contrast increases memory retention and emotional impact, a surprising moment in a speech will land. You've noticed a clear before and after, rather than just, okay, here's our product and it does great things. Here's Susie and her problem was X, and here was her circumstances, right? She weighed 200 pounds and now she weighs 125, right? Whatever it is. So the contrast helps us understand value. A bold positioning statement also stands out in a crowded market. Once you know where you fit and you've done that intellectual comparative work, you can start to be bold because you know where you can own the space and where you feel confident. So contrast doesn't just help you remember, it helps you care. It creates an emotional investment to you and whoever you're talking to. Contrast is how the brain finds meaning. It drives attention, sharpens decisions, deepens understanding, and makes ideas unforgettable. Whether you're leading a team, crafting a message, or designing a product, If you want to be clear, be different. Everyone has competitors. So I want to make sure we talk about this. A lot of times, especially for wholehearted visionary founders, we like to say, I have no competition. No one does what my product or service does. And well, do agree your product and service is unique. You certainly have competitors in one way or another. Somehow, person's needs are being met, even if they're being consciously not met. So don't fall into the trap into thinking my company is the only company that does XYZ, because it will end your ability to explore the concept of what others are doing, discover for yourself where you're uniquely meant to serve and be brilliant. No doubt your company has or will have a unique offering, but it's important to know the alternatives, all the alternatives your customers are already thinking about. Please do not fear competition. In the very rare cases where you don't have direct competition, almost every business has direct competition, but in the very rare cases where you don't, those businesses often have the hardest time because the market hasn't decided the offering is needed, right? So a lot of times the fast followers are the ones who make it. So hopefully you have competition. Competition demonstrates that there's a market, that people will actually pay for the services and the value of whatever it is you're offering. So the presence of other successful players in your market demonstrates there's a real need. It also demonstrates customers already exist. Don't be afraid of having competitors and be willing to see that you do. It's helpful to identify who those competitors are and learn from them. We're going to walk through some examples. This is a competitive matrix. And in the exercise we're going to do, you're going to create your own. So in this case, we have Incredible Health is the company. And then there are 3 other companies that they're looking at. So Incredible Health, Trusted Health, Nomad Health, and Healthcare are leading platforms transforming healthcare staffing through technology and innovation. So that's the market they sit in. Each of them we look at and say, what's their product or offering? How do they describe it? What's the price? What's the quality? How's their customer service perceived by the market? Are they considered innovative? And if so, where in the market and what way are they innovative? What is the size of their market share? And what is their brand recognition? Who within the market recognizes them? If it's everybody, just a few or certain niche parts. And then how does it get distributed? How does it come to market? And what are the distribution channels? In the worksheet, we go further and look at the specific strengths and weaknesses and some other things. And this is giving you a way to look at how Incredible Health and Trusted Health and Nomad and I all use same platforms. They have different modes of payment. You'll see this one is high quality curated candidates. This is better for flexible roles. Nomad Health is better for decent match, but broad. Aya Healthcare is better for high volume and variable fit. See how that quality comes in. You can look at what their customer service is like. Incredible Health is excellent hospital and nurse support, whereas Trusted Health is really great for travel-centric support. Nomad Health has very limited live health, right? And that's probably intentional, right? They've decided to be this very online platform. So you can compare from one company to the next and then see where you want to live. Attention Grace, this is the company that I'm invested through a venture fund. Attention Grace, Tina, Always Discreet, and Because Market are prominent brands in the incontinence product space. That's the product offering. Attention Grace calls it sustainable, women designed incontinence care. Tina is a legacy brand, wide product range, lots of different things. Always Discreet is also for the mass market, low cost appeal. And Because Market is direct to consumer and aging focused. Now, under pricing, there's a big difference. Attention Grace is a premium product, so it's going to be more expensive. It's also eco-conscious. Then you have Tina, and it's affordable, and there are bulk options. Then always discreet. This is the lowest price point. And then this one has competitive direct to consumer pricing. Most of these might be selling more to B2B. And this one has some good pricing on the D2C. You'll see there's differences in their how they focus on quality. You'll see what kind of customer service they have. You'll see that the innovation, here's an area, design forward, non-toxic innovations for attention grace is where they're innovative. Tina is a brand that is established but less modern, so not nearly as innovative as Attention Grace. Always Discreet is low innovation and high volume. See how you're already getting to know these brands. The Because market is really focused on the D2C space. So there you're going to probably see them spending more of their time in Walmart, Target, and different places like that. Whereas you're going to find emerging purpose-led brand Attention Grace probably focused differently. Here's your distribution channels. Online, boutique retail partners for Attention Grace. Tina focuses on pharmacies and big box. Always Discreet focuses on broad mass retail. And Because market is online and subscriptions. Notice how different these 4 companies are that are in the incontinence products, right? So think about your company and the others that are in your market and what the products are that you offer, your pricing, where you sit, what's your quality, what's your customer service, etc. The next one is Spellkit. This is a company, Spellkit, WalkMe, WhatFix, and Pendo are all digital adoption platforms designed to help organizations max the value of their software investments by enhancing user engagement, streamlining onboarding, and providing contextual guidance within applications. It's helping companies in the SaaS area create better use of their products. And so you can look at this one again. You can see quality, simple UI, solid outcome. WalkMe has highly customized, steep learning curves. WhatFix, adaptable, moderate complexity. Pendo, highly polished, user-focused. Each of these different tools is going to be different. You can see the pricing difference, mid-tier SaaS pricing, premium enterprise pricing, custom pricing, moderate, and then Pendo at the premium to enterprise tiers. You get to decide where you want to be in your market, and you can look at it across all these different ways of comparing. Let's go ahead now and focus on your company, and let's create competitive analysis to help you see where your company really shines. Let's dive right in. Let's first look at part 1, where you identify your competitors. All right. Or we're going to look at 4 kinds of competitors: direct competitors, core competitors, indirect competitors, do-it-yourself options, free options, or the no solution option. Direct competitors are companies or organizations in your market that provide similar products and services. If you happen to be a company that operates in a particular location, in my case with my healthcare company, my license was in Connecticut. So you want to look at companies in your market that your customers could actually work with. If you're a company that's a force for good, you can look in a broader sense. What you're looking for is other companies that are like yours and have similar products and service. Your market might say they offer the same kind of solutions. So they might vary in the specific customer they serve. Maybe there's some that focus on small business versus large enterprise, right? Perhaps they have features or benefits that are different than yours. You can write those down. They might have a different price point than yours. You might be in the mid tier, they might be in the higher or lower tier. Include those in your list. Get a list of at least 10 companies that provide similar products and services as your company. That's the first step. Next, choose your core competitors. 3 to 5, 3 is better than 5 competitors whose products, services, and target market most emulate yours. Think about which competitors your ideal customers might be using or considering. They might include niche players or specific products or services offered by a larger, more generic competitor. Your core competitors are the ones you want to watch and learn from the most closely. Write down your 3 to 5 core competitors, and then you can write those also in your 4-page growth plan. So now you have another element, another core growth element of your 4-page plan completed. Now we're going to think beyond. We're going to think about your indirect competitors for a moment. And this is going to help your brain understand all the different ways your customer is thinking about their problem rather than the solution. So indirect competitors are companies in your market test the same core problem your company aims to solve, but in a different way through a different type of product or service. Let's look at ride sharing services and bicycle rentals as an example. Both address the challenge of urban transportation. But while ride sharing offers car-based solutions, bicycle rentals provide an eco-friendly option. Okay, so that's an indirect competitor. A bicycle rental would be an indirect competitor of a ride sharing service. So who are your indirect competitors? Let's look at the alternative of a streaming service versus live theater. Streaming services and live theater entertain audiences, but streaming services offer a wide range of digital content accessible from home, whereas live theater provides a unique in-person cultural experience. And then there's home security systems versus neighborhood watch programs. My customer here is saying, I want safety, right? How do I make sure my home and my family are safe? Both aim to enhance residential security, but home security systems use technology and monitoring services, whereas neighborhood watch programs rely on community vigilance and cooperation. So, what are your indirect competitors? Write down 3 to 5 indirect competitors. Then let's move on to the DIY free or no solution option. Your customers always have the option of handling their problem themselves, making do with a subpar or free solution, or choosing not to address the problem at all. Think about what that looks like for your customer, for the problem you're solving. A small business owner might choose to handle all marketing efforts in-house, relying on free tools and platforms to reach their audience. A free solution would be using social media and word of mouth strategies to promote their business without investing a penny in paid advertising. To not address it would be choosing not to market at all due to budget limits, skepticism, or reliance on referral. Ask yourself, what are the do-it-yourself options for your customer? They solve the problem somehow themselves. They do it with free tools or by leaving it untouched and say, you know what? I'm going to leave it alone for right now, at least for today, at least for now. Write down what those scenarios are. And in the example of not addressing it, pay attention to what that looks like and how that problem might grow or become more complex or triggered at different moments in time in the future, because those might be moments where you could re-enter if they decide to choose that option of not addressing it. Okay, so now we've talked about the different types of competitors. Now we're going to build a competitive analysis criteria. This is where we're going to look specifically at your company and think about all the different ways you compare and contrast your company with 3 others in the market. What we've done here in the competitive analysis framework is we've created some basic ideas of what you might compare, things like features, benefits, claims, and then you can add or change whatever these are to be specifically relevant to your market. It's valuable to your customer and how your competitors stack up next to you. Product offering, how it's different. Pricing, quality. Quality can be broken down depending on the specific problem that you're solving. Quality is a placeholder for things your customer values, how good your customer service is, where you're innovative or not innovative. Market share. How big is the market share for each of these competitors and for yourself? Where do you fit in the puzzle? Do you have a particular niche of the market that is most interested in you? And do your competitors have a particular niche they're focused on? Any specific notoriety or anything about the brand. My daughter, for example, is starting to look at colleges. And so you can quickly go online and find comparisons of the reputation of each school, right? So this is the same kind of idea. What is your brand like? What are your competitors' brands like? What is showing up in the world on social media about this brand? How is it distributed? Is it distributed one-on-one? Is it D2C? Is it in a physical location and people get it? Is it sold through resellers? What kind of customer loyalty is there? Some businesses have really strong loyalty and others have less. So where do you see that? And then overall, what would you say are the strengths, weaknesses of each company, yourself and your three competitors? And where would you say you're positioned in the market? We do have a separate tool and a separate masterclass on this topic. You can start to get a sense of where am I positioned in the market versus my competitors and any other criteria you choose. So this exercise here is just to decide what those criteria are. As we go on to the last part of the competitive analysis framework, this is when you go ahead and you fill in as much as you can in the competitive matrix. Fill in details about each of your competitors. And I highly recommend that you do this using an AI tool if you can, especially for competitors of any size. You're going to start to see some information. If you have competitors that are all really small, you may have less information. If you have three competitors that are all really small and you can't find much information about them, you can ask your market and see what your opinions are. You could talk to people, but you could also compare it to bigger competitors that have a larger footprint, because then what it will help you do is it'll help you see where you fit. Even if you're not really competing with them as much, it'll help you see what are the different criteria that your customer is thinking about and where do you want to fit compared to those other players. You've done a lot. We just walked through the whole tool today. And so hopefully now you're feeling a sense of clarity, some deeper knowing, and hopefully some practical power. Ask yourself, what did you learn from thinking about all your competitors? What did you learn about a competitor that you didn't know? I feel like whenever I do competitive analysis, I learn so much, how they're messaging, how they're marketing, what their particular packaging is, how they're pricing things. Where does your company already stand out? That's the other thing I'm hoping you're seeing is where are you seeing your company belongs? Where are you uniquely positioned to own the space? Where did you discover you have the edge? And where did you discover your competitors have the edge? And what messaging or positioning needs to shift based on what you now see? Where is there an open white space in the market that nobody's handling? Nobody's taking care of that need, that opportunity. How might all of this clarity change the way you lead, the way you make decisions, and the way you grow, both inside and out? In a world of noise, knowing your true position is an act of courage. I invite you to go ahead now and update your 4-page plan if you haven't already, and write down your 3 to 5 core competitors right there on the first page. And as you do that, you might start to reflect on the core growth elements that are on your 4-page plan. Just look at them, see if anything shifts because you've contemplated your core competitors. The next step, always at the end of our master classes, we identify actions. You use the tool to pour your wisdom and your team's wisdom into a series of questions that are meant to help your company grow. When you leave the tool, then you say, what are habits and actions that will move these concepts into real life, into actualization? High leverage habits are repeated actions that take place over time. You do them every week, every month, and they create disproportionate returns over time. Like going to the gym every day. It's like brushing your teeth every day. If you do versus if you don't, it creates massive returns. What simple recurring habit would help you and your team stay curious, informed, and in sync with how your competitive landscape is evolving? So here's some ideas for you to think about. Maybe you could add to your monthly town hall agenda, which you're not doing the monthly town hall. I'm inviting to start know your market session and do a little training on the market and what's happening with your competition. It could be something you put together or you invite somebody on your team to put together. They go out and do a little research, find some data and a report on the market and bring it to you. Another example would be to set a Google alert for your top 3 competitors. So you get news every time your competitors are in the news. Discuss whatever those alerts are in your weekly leadership team meeting or your marketing team meeting. Add right into your agenda. So it reminds you every week, what was the news that came up this week on our Google alerts on our competitors? And then you say, oh, they just launched a new product. Oh, they just had an inquiry from the state or whatever. All right, next is review one competitor website each week. I really love this one actually, because you'll learn a lot. And it's great if you can delegate this to somebody, review and share what we might do differently. You could also track competitor announcements in a shared document. So delegate someone to share these in a weekly meeting would be a great ritual. It's a high leverage habit. Remember, your clarity is your kindness. When you create clear rituals, it's a form of kindness to yourself, your team, and the people you are here to serve. Pick one high leverage habit that you want to implement. Make it simple and easy to go right into your existing calendar, into your existing rituals, add it in. So you're really just habit stacking. The next thing is you're going to identify a single high potency action. High leverage habits are those things you do over and over again. And that habit is what creates the result. High potency actions are one-time bold moves that catalyze clarity, momentum, and progress. And sometimes they take courage and they deliver breakthrough. So what would be a breakthrough action you could take? What's a single bold action that would move your company forward, clarify your company edge, or unlock new opportunities based on what you now know about your competition and about where maybe you can interview a lost prospect about their choice to take the competition and to choose the competition instead. Maybe you can mystery shop your competitors. I do this. This is something I do. Create a competitive scorecard for your sales team. You could add differentiators to your homepage or your deck, right? You don't have to necessarily put the competitors, but you could say, hey, this is how we differentiate ourselves. You could also run a pricing comparison audit. Look to see what the pricing of your competitors are. Make sure you know where you fit. So knowing your core competitors is a gift. It sharpens your message, your mission, and your moves. We defined core competitors. Next, you learned how to use the competitive analysis framework. So hopefully this will be the first of many times you pull it out and use it again. You integrated your core competitors into your 4-page growth plan. You identified a high leverage habit that's going to keep your awareness on your competitors over time, and you committed to one high potency action to help you move forward based on what you learned today about your core competitors. You did something powerful today. You clarified this space only your company can fill. So, next steps, be sure to pick up the book, A Force for Good. The Force for Good book contains all of the core growth elements and all of the wisdom tools, including the competitive analysis framework. And we talk about it in chapter 6. We talk about core competitors and a competitive analysis framework in chapter 6. When you buy this book, you gain access to all of it. You get instructions for each tool, and you have a full Force for Good system at your fingertips. So if you don't have the book, pick it up at aforceforgood.biz/book. The other thing I invite you to do is sign up for the free Force for Good tool of the week. Every week we drop another tool and we make the tool available for 1 week for free. And we include a masterclass where you can then learn how to use the tool, do it quickly, and reap the benefits of it. Go to aforceforgood.biz/weekly-tool to sign up. I encourage you to join me in the Growth Accelerator, an online program that gives you access to the 12 modules to quickly implement the full Force for Good system. It includes videos, tools, and assessments. You can do it with your team or alone. So you get a few people that join you when you sign up with no extra charge. The idea is we want you to bring your team. We want your team to be involved. We want you to not do everything on your own. The tiered pricing for this transformative business program to help your company grow from inside out is tiered pricing starting $599. I am grateful to spend this time with you. Being at your side is my deepest gift. So keep your flywheels spinning. Keep building your legacy. Thank you for showing up today. I hope you discovered some building blocks to help you feel a presence of more future freedom, prosperity, and scale in your company. Just remember that the world is made better by women-led business. So let's go make the world a better place.